Good morning, afternoon, and evening, guys. Um, I I want to talk about something. I don't know how long this will stay up or what's gonna happen, but I want to share my opinion of what's happening in Europe at the moment. Um, let's quickly talk about stuff that I believe in, and I am kind of center, but more conservative. Um, I believe that every person has the right to live their life, the way they should. Um, Government involvement must be my minimum. I believe in capitalism. I support gay rights. I do not support LGBTQ plus stuff because most of that stuff is just bullshit. I believe in reality, like biology. Um, I don't mind people being transgender. I've got an issue with a man identifying as a woman. I believe that in sports, there should be the biological men and women, and they compete against each other, the men and the women. And then I believe there should be a transgender male and female where they compete against each other. I do not believe that a transitioned man to a woman should be competing against other females, because that will destroy female sport. Like I said, I believe in capitalism, free market, and stuff like that. I am a South African, for those who did not know. Okay, now let's have a look at the USA. At the censorship going on in the USA, at Hunter Biden's laptop, how it was censored. They are not a free country anymore. With people like a puppet like Joe Biden placed there, America is turning into that. It's like communism run by people in the shadows, because whoever does not go with their agenda gets censored, gets targeted, and stuff like that. Same happened with Russia at the moment. They're being censored. The only news, in brackets, propaganda that you are receiving is from corporate shills. Even in South Africa, as you can see in my YouTube, I'm gonna play a part from a South African channel. It's a state-run channel, but it's the same talking points to whatever corporate channel you go to. If it's Australia, the USA, wherever, it's the same stuff. Now, ask yourself the question: what is the difference between the USSR and NATO? Nothing. There's absolutely no difference. Because as I told you now, when you have puppets in position of power, someone else is dictating their decisions. And Biden, I mean, he's got so many stuff in his closet that's coming out now. He doesn't do what he decides like Trump did. He does what he's told. Many times on the stage, he would have said no to something and then later make a whole fucking 360 and change it. Now let's go back to Ukraine. Ukraine's previous government was overthrown by people backed by the USA that gave them fucking guns, that gave them everything. Why? So they could place someone in position there that's a shill and a puppet like Joe Biden, so they can control the Ukraine. Now, when World War II ended, that's when NATO was formed. Now, there was a promise made that NATO will not expand, which was not kept. They have been expanding. Ukraine wants to join NATO, but why? Because the puppet is in charge there, or the previous puppet. Now, normal Ukrainians and normal Russians are paying the price for these elites, for those people working in the shadows that's controlling Putin and all of that shit. The propaganda that has come out of Ukraine, fake videos produced by Zelensky, by himself, videos where choppers are shot down, which are fake. The video about the submarine, where they said, when they told the Russians go fuck yourself, that's out of a fucking video game. There's so much produced propaganda coming out of Ukraine. They were not censored. They can carry on. And people that know nothing believe every single fucking word. Now, first of all, Ukraine is divided. There's people that support Russia, and there's people that support Ukraine. All men 18 to 16 was banned from leaving. They were forced to fight. So if you were not a supporter of Zelensky and his fucking the puppets controlling him, you could not leave with your family. You were forced to stay. How does that work? Zelensky now has made political parties illegal that he decides supports Russia. That is not democracy, but he is seen as a hero. Now, Putin is standing up against NATO. That's like standing up against the USSR. Because if you're not with their agenda, what happens? Has anything like this ever happened to America when they invaded Syria, Afghanistan illegally? Any sanctions, stuff like that? Do yourself a favor, go look at the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan now, how bad it is there. Do you hear anything about it? No, why not? Because NATO, the USA and its allies control big tech, corporate media and all of that stuff. That's why Russia has been censored. You only censor someone when you are afraid of what they are saying. If you've got nothing to hide, there's no need to censor a person. There's no need for that. Censoring comes in when fear comes in of what that person is talking about. How many stuff to date was called conspiracy theories a little while back, which has turned out to be the truth? Wuhan lab theory, Hunter Biden's laptop that showed President Biden getting 10% of the money his son was making in Ukraine at Burisma. These are big stuff that has been censored. So what do you think NATO and the USA will do to any country that's not part of their agenda? Because if they can do it to Russia, they can do it to any country. They've been invading countries illegally for how long? And nothing happens to them. That's the question. If there's one superpower, that's what happens. because they've got no one to answer to. They've got the EU in their pocket, and if you don't agree with them, they censor you, or they set up some coup, overthrow your government, and nothing happens to them. That's the real thing that's happening. Now, let's quickly listen to this. Let's see what
that particular meeting.
this has to say.
Find out more about these events, we're joined by SABC News correspondent Ross Cullen, who is coming to us live from Brussels. Ross, thank you so much for your time. Of course, Brussels has been a meeting point. Can you, of course, just maybe share with us some of the outcomes of the EU meeting?
Yes, we have had 2 summits so far today, 2 out of 3. We've had the NATO meetings this morning, attended by the 30 leaders of the member states of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, with Joe Biden here in person, the US president.
Now that's 30 countries. And I bet you none of those countries has as big a say as the USA. They run NATO. They supply the guns. So the others just follow. They follow. And let me tell you one thing. Take your fucking computer, take your fucking phone, look at the Economic Freedom Forum. You look at their agenda. The person that formed the Economic Freedom his name slipped my mind now. He distributed a book about COVID, the Great Reset, exactly the time COVID hit. Conspiracy theory. Go look it up.
And they did agree in discussions to launch 4 new combat-ready battle groups to the eastern flank of NATO, to NATO allies such as Hungary and also to Poland. They have had battle groups ready, but they're going to send more now also to Slovakia and Bulgaria and Romania as well. So additional troop deployments to the eastern flank of NATO, also agreeing to send in protective equipment and also so gas masks, etc., to deal with the radiological.
Okay, gas masks. The USA has been pushing this propaganda for how long now? About biological attacks. I'll look for the clip now where it was proven that there is biological labs in Ukraine. But now, it's been said that Russia is using it. They're not using it. It's propaganda. But because you can only hear one side of the story, people will believe that it is Russia. In Syria, the USA did the same thing. They couldn't interfere unless there was an attack. They organized a coup. That government actually did things to their own citizens just so that NATO could interfere. Go do your research.
Or chemical attack by Russia on Ukraine. That was the first summit NATO, and then after that we had the meetings of the G7 leaders. They also focused mostly on sanctions, trying to close the loopholes and fight what they see as evasion of these sanctions and perhaps divergence by some of the people on those target lists of sanctions, some of the Russian oligarchs and Belarusian officials as well.
Now, that's a soldier. That's a soldier. Does he look fit? Propaganda.
They said there will be no circumvention. We must also try to dry out the finances that Russia and Vladimir Putin are using to finance his war in Ukraine. And finally, getting underway.
You know what would be nice? Actually. if Putin turns around and he takes up the tariffs and he makes his oil and gas so expensive, Germany is 70 or 80% dependent on Russian oil and stuff. If he raises that because of all these sanctions, he will make his money back because they need it. And if I was him, that's what I would have done. So that's my local news. Russian experience heavy loss in Ukraine. That's what you'll hear. That talking point has been going on since day 2. Russia hasn't unleashed its full potential because Russia is trying to not do damage to civilians. But that's not what you will hear. Look at all this. Russian signals its scaling back plan to conquer Ukraine. Russia changes war strategy. Ukraine urges Russia to end war. I know how the war can be ended. I know how innocent people that are forced to fight, men 18 to 16, it's easy. Zelensky, give yourself up. And it won't happen. You will save how many lives? But no. You surround yourself with bodies of humans to protect yourself while those innocent people are dying. Because they are not allowed to leave the country. They are fucking forced to stay there. You are shutting down opposition political parties. So, tell me, is that fucking democracy? No, it's not. Ukraine war. Putin invasion stalling because major of dot bombs are failing to explode. This is the shit that you will get. It's going to be such a sad day when Russia actually releases a full-on attack. The other stuff that you hear is about civilians dying, blah blah blah. As soon as you as a civilian take up a gun, you are no more a civilian. If you are on civilian buildings with guns, you are no more a civilian. That's propaganda. Appears to be shifting tactics in Ukraine. They will change their tactics. Do you think they're going to stay the same all the time? All I'm saying is Putin is standing up for Russia. What he's doing is sad for normal Ukrainian people as they are being forced to fight. But what the USA has done in the past is more devastating than what Putin has done. More. And people need to think about that because it is hurtful. It is causing stuff that is unnecessary. People dying. Unnecessary. If there's a channel you want to watch where you will actually get real information on this, it's an American, Jimmy Dore. Now, the stuff he puts out, most of the stuff about the war is 100% correct. False flag coming. What I just spoke about, I haven't even seen this video. You can see I haven't seen it. Ukraine chemical weapons. It's a false flag because it's the Ukrainians using it, blaming Russia. All I'm saying, people, wake up. We do not want one superpower censoring whoever is against them, and fighting those who oppose them.